Hey everyone, and welcome to another video tutorial from videocoursecenter.com. In this video tutorial, we're gonna create this amazing microwave object together in Adobe Illustrator from scratch, and so you don't need any prior knowledge in Adobe Illustrator to follow along with this video tutorial. So, by the end of this video tutorial, you will be able to create any type of 2D objects using Adobe Illustrator, and if you are eager to learn how to export and animate this object in Adobe After Effects, I highly encourage you to visit Video Course Center portfolio on Udemy and Skillshare to find some amazing motion graphics courses that will help you to learn and enhance your skills in motion graphics, and those courses will help you to find a job as a professional motion graphics artist. Also, you can find the links to my best and highest rated motion graphics courses on Udemy and Skillshare at the bottom of this video, so don't forget to check them out now. Okay? If you are ready to have fun and if you are eager to learn how to create amazing 2D objects in Adobe Illustrator, join me now and watch the rest of this video.
Hey everyone and welcome. In this video, we're gonna work on designing our microwave object in Adobe Illustrator. If you like to learn all the techniques you need to design a flat object in Adobe Illustrator, I highly recommend you to watch all the videos. I hope you enjoyed this video. So without wasting time, let's start designing a fantastic flat microwave object. So from menu, choose File, New, or hit Ctrl N. Okay, as you can see here, we have some preset artboards like mobile, web, print, film and video, and art and illustration. We can use any of these presets, so let's choose web, and here we can select one of these presets, and then let's change width and height to 2000 pixels. In fact, I want to have a perfect square artboard. Press create button. Okay, great. Okay, before we start designing the object, let me tell you which panels and tools we're gonna use in this process, and also I will talk a little bit about how to navigate in Adobe Illustrator. Okay, we need to have some panels like Layers, Properties, Align, and Transform. You can find all of them in Window menu. Here we have Layers, the shortcut is F7. Here we have Properties panel and Transform panel, that right now it is outside of the recording area. And here we have Align panel, that the shortcut is Shift and F7. Okay, here we have Console bar. If you can see this section, simply from menu choose Window, Control. And here on the left side we have toolbars. If you can see all of these tools here, like what I have now, maybe you are in basic mode. If you select basic mode, some of these tools will be hidden in toolbar. So let's switch back to advanced mode. Okay, if you are a completely new Adobe Illustrator user, let me talk about how to navigate in Illustrator. To pan in Illustrator, hold a spacebar, then left-click your mouse and drag it around. To zoom in, hold Ctrl key and press plus key on your numpad, or you can use your mouse scroll wheel and rotate it towards the front. To zoom out, hold Ctrl key and press minus key, or you can use your mouse scroll wheel and rotate it towards the back. Okay, if you want to have your artboard in full screen mode, hold Ctrl key and press 0 on your numpad. And to have your artboard in 100% size, hold Ctrl key and press 1 on your numpad. Okay, this was a quick overview of all tools and panels we need in this project. Now let's start our main mission, that is designing a flat microwave object. In this video, I'm gonna use a color palette for picking colors for my object. If you don't know what is a color palette, you can simply search it in Google and you will find good information for creating beautiful color palettes for your own design projects. And also, I have added a link in project description and download file to a great page for color palettes in Adobe site. You will find lots of great color palette samples, and I'm sure you will find good color palettes for your next designs. Okay, now let's import the color palette I used for this project. From menu, choose File, Place. Select Color Palette file and import it. You can click to place this file here, or you can click and drag to specify the image size as well. Okay, now let's change the name for this layer to Color Palette, and then lock it to avoid selecting it accidentally. Okay, now I want to add a background to my project, but as you can see, because I have only one layer here and it is locked, so I can do nothing in my artboard unless I create a new layer. So click on this Create New Layer button. Now let's create a rectangle shape using this rectangle tool, or you can press M as a shortcut. Here for fill color, select the color for now, and for a stroke, select none. Okay, now hold Shift key to draw a perfect square shape and click and drag to create our background shape. Okay, while your object is still selected, click on Gradient tool, which the shortcut is G key, and click on your object. Okay, now put your mouse over here around this small square handle to activate the rotation tool. Click and drag and hold Shift key and rotate it 90 degrees. Now move it to the center. Okay, as you can see, we have a circle on the top and a circle at the bottom. Double click on the top circle and here you can see this panel. Use this color picker to select the color from this color palette. Now go to the center of the gradient tool. As you can see, Illustrator will show a plus sign beside your mouse icon. If you click, you will add a new circle here. Again, double click over this circle and choose color from the color palette. Now click on the bottom circle and choose a color for this circle as well. Okay, now let me add another circle to our gradient here under the center circle. Click and pick a color from color palette. Now if you move these circles, you can create sharp or smooth transition between these two colors in the center of the artboard. Okay, press V key to activate selection tool and rename this layer to background, and also don't forget to lock it. Okay, now finally we're going to start flat design process for this microwave object. So create a new layer. Here in artboard, I want to create a rectangle shape as the body for microwave object. So use rectangle tool. For fill color, select white, and we don't need a stroke for this shape. Now click and drag in artboard to create the body object. While this shape is still selected, press I key to activate eyedropper tool here in toolbar and pick a white color from this color palette. Okay, press V key to activate selection tool again. Now I want to have round corners for this rectangle shape. So click on this circle handle and drag it until you find a good amount of roundness for the corners. Okay, let me show you another method to do this. So press Ctrl Z to undo this action. Go here in transform panel, and if you want to have identical roundness for all the corners, be sure this link corner radius values button is activated. Now you can increase this value to have round corners for your rectangle shape. For example, set it to 100. If you don't want to have same roundness for all corners, simply deactivate this chain button and change values for these boxes. Now as you can see, we have different roundness for some corners. As I want to have same roundness for all corners, so let's change these numbers to 100 and activate this chain button again. Okay, let's change the layer name for this shape to body. Later on, this helps us to find this layer quickly. Okay, click outside of the artboard to deselect all layers. Now I want to design a door for this microwave object. So again, select rectangle tool, and for fill color, select the color for now. I will change it soon. Now click and drag to create the door shape. Then hit I key and choose a color from color palette for this shape. Now press V key to switch to selection tool. Again, move this circle handle to add a little bit roundness to the corners. Okay, and change the layer name to door. Okay, let's add a glass for this door. So use rectangle tool, select the color for fill color, and create a rectangle shape here. Okay, activate eyedropper tool and pick a color for it. Here we can add a little bit roundness to it as well. I just don't want to have very sharp edge for this object, so add a small roundness to the corners. Okay, now I want to add two lines here over this glass shape. So this time I want to use line tool instead of rectangle tool. Now click and drag here over this glass shape and hold Shift key to draw a straight line. As you can see here, our line shape doesn't have any fill or stroke property, so press I key to activate eyedropper tool and choose this color from color palette. But as you can see, this color added to fill property. Now I want to transfer this color from fill to stroke. So press Shift X keys to move this color to stroke. Now as you can see in control bar, our shape has a color for a stroke. Okay, now here I can increase stroke size, for example set it to 20. Now zoom in a little bit and here you can see this line shape. But I want to have round corners for this line object instead of this flat style. So open Properties panel, click on this stroke option and select round cap for the caps property. Okay, as you can see here, we have round corners for the line shape as well. Okay, now let's adjust the roundness for this glass shape. Let's decrease it a little bit. Okay, great. Now I want to duplicate this line shape, so select line shape, hit Ctrl C to copy it into memory, and then press Ctrl Shift V to paste it exactly over the first shape. If you use Ctrl V, your shape will be pasted somewhere else near your first shape. Okay, now hold Shift key and press down arrow key on your keyboard to move this shape to the bottom. Okay, great. Okay, now I want to add a small circle here, so use Ellipse Tool, select the white color for fill, and for a stroke option select none. Now click, then hold Shift key and click and drag to create a perfect circle here. Let me use arrow keys to move this object a little bit. Okay, great. Okay, now I want to add a panel here to this microwave object, so activate rectangle tool again. For fill color, let's change white color to something else. Okay, now click and drag here to draw a panel shape. Now pick a color from this color palette, activate selection tool and add a little bit roundness to the corners. Okay, now I want to add some details to this panel. For example, I like to add some circles and lines, so I'm gonna use Ellipse Tool, and for fill color, let's select a green color. Now click and then hold Shift and Alt keys to draw a perfect circle. Holding Alt key helps you to create a circle from the point you have clicked. I mean your circle will be created from the center. Okay, I don't want to have a filled circle, I just want to have a stroke for it, so what can I do? As you may know, I have to transfer this fill color to the stroke, so press Shift X keys to move the color from the fill to the stroke. Okay, if your circle and panel are not aligned horizontally, select both of them using the Shift key, and in Align panel, click on this Horizontal Align Center option. Okay, now I want to have two more copies from this circle shape, so select it, press Ctrl C, and then press Ctrl Shift V and move second circle shape. Again select second circle, press Ctrl C and then Ctrl Shift V and move third circle shape to the bottom. I like to change color for this third circle, so press I key and pick this purple color. Now as you know, I want to transfer this color from fill to stroke. And finally, I have to increase stroke size to, for example, 10. Okay, now I want to add some lines here under the circle shapes, so activate Line Tool. Click and hold Shift key to draw a straight horizontal line and change stroke size to 10. If you want to change the length for this line, you can click and drag this endpoint while holding Shift key to move in a straight line. Okay, now let's pick a color for this line from our color palette. So press I key and select this color. And now use Shift X keys to transfer color from fill to stroke. And finally change stroke size to 10. Let's zoom in. And now open Properties panel and in Stroke option, let's choose Round Cap for this line as well. Okay, now duplicate this line shape using Ctrl C and Ctrl Shift V keys. Move the new line to the right. Now select both of them using the Shift key and move them to the bottom. Now select these four line shapes using Shift key and from menu choose Object Group. Now if I click on one of these lines, all of them will be selected because they are in the same group. So now select this group and duplicate it again and move it to the bottom. And again press Ctrl C and then Ctrl Shift V and move third group to the bottom as well. Okay, let's see the result. Great, so good so far. Let's continue our object designing process. Okay, now I want to add two buttons down here, so activate rectangle tool, select a color for fill, and for a stroke select none. Let's click and drag here to create a small lovely button here. Use eyedropper tool and pick a color. I like to change the button size a little bit, and again let's add roundness to the corners. Let's zoom in, deselect shape layer. Okay, Now I want to add some details to this button, so select Rectangle tool and change color to white and click and drag here. Let's zoom in a little bit more, and again let's add roundness to the corners. Okay, great. Okay, now I want to add a shadow for this small button, so select it and press Ctrl C and then Ctrl Shift V. For this new duplicated layer, pick another color using eyedropper tool. Okay, this duplicated layer should be under the original one, so in layer panel drag it under the blue button layer. Now let's change its shape a little bit to have a stylish shadow effect. Okay, let's change roundness and button size a little bit. Okay, great. Now I want to duplicate this button, but before that let's create a group of them, so select these 3 layers and group them. Now press Ctrl C and then Ctrl Shift V and move new duplicated layer to the right. Great. Okay, now I want to add 3 small lights here on the top of this door shape, so activate Ellipse Tool and hold Shift and Alt keys and create a small circle shape here. Immediately press I key and pick a color from color palette. Duplicate it using Ctrl C and then Ctrl Shift V keys. Move duplicated layer. Again duplicate a new circle and move it to the right. Let's zoom in. Okay. If your objects are not distributed evenly, select them using Shift key and in Align panel, click on this horizontal distribute center button. Okay. Press Ctrl and 0 key to zoom back and fit to the artboard. Okay, great. Okay, now I want to add a handle for this door shape, so again use Rectangle tool. Select the color for now and click and drag. Let's change the shape a little bit, just like so. And add roundness to the corners. And finally press I key and pick a color from panel shape. Okay, now I want to add a little bit detail to this handle shape, so activate Line tool. Click your mouse and hold Shift key to draw a straight vertical line. Okay, let's change the line size using these endpoints. Okay. As you can see, our line doesn't have fill and a stroke color. So press I key and from color palette, select this blue color. Now press Shift X to transfer this color from fill to stroke. And then increase the stroke size. And finally, let's add round cap to this line in Properties panel and a stroke option. Okay, great. Okay, now let's add 2 bases to this object down here under the body shape. So use Rectangle tool and select a color for fill, and for a stroke select none. And click and drag to create a rectangle shape here. Let's zoom in a little bit. And now add roundness to the corners. Okay, now I want to split this rectangle shape from here to apply different color to each part. To split a shape in Adobe Illustrator, we have several ways. One of them is using a line shape and shape builder tool. So activate Line tool, click and hold Shift key and draw a straight vertical line, just like so. Okay, now I want to split this rectangle shape from where this line shape has crossed. So select rectangle shape, hold Shift key and select line shape as well. Activate Shape Builder tool or press Shift M keys. Now, as you can see, when I put my mouse over a rectangle shape, you can see these 2 highlighted areas. If I click on one of them, we will separate this shape into 2 parts. Okay, click on one of them. Now deselect the layers, activate Selection tool, and now you can move each part separately. Select these 2 remained line shapes and delete them. Now select left part and pick a color from color palette using eyedropper tool. And again select right part and choose a color for it as well. Okay, now let's group them together. So select them and from menu choose Object, Group. This group should be under the body object. So in Layer panel, drag this group under the body layer. Okay, now I want to duplicate this base group and put it on the other side. So select this group, press Ctrl C and then Ctrl Shift V keys. Select duplicated group and then hold Shift key and drag it horizontally to the right. And then in Layer panel, drag this group under the body object. And as you may guess, we have to mirror this object. So select right base group and right click and choose Transform Reflect option. And in Axis section, select Vertical option. Great. Let me move this group to the right place, just like so. Great. Okay, let's add a little bit more details to this flat object. For example, let's add shadow to this door shape. So select door layer, duplicate it, and use eyedropper tool to select a gray color from color palette. Okay, now we have to drag this new duplicated layer under the original door layer. Okay, great. Now activate selection tool and move this shadow layer using shift key and left arrow key on your keyboard. Okay, let's move some of these edges to change the shape a little bit, just like so. Great. Okay, now I want to add a circle shape here as a big highlight over this blue glass object. So activate Ellipse Tool and pick a white color for fill and draw a big circle shape here. Okay, let's move some of these points to modify this circle shape, just like so. Okay, great. Now I want to cut this part of the circle shape that is outside of the rectangle shape. So select rectangle shape, hold shift key and then select circle shape. And now from toolbar, click on shape builder tool. When I put my mouse over this section of the circle, you can see this highlighted area. Now if I hold Alt key, you can see that this plus sign beside your mouse icon will change to a negative sign. That means if I click on this highlighted area, this selection will be deleted. Now I deselect everything, and if I use selection tool, you can see that we have two separated shapes here. Great. Select this new shape layer and press I key and pick a blue color from color palette. And now let's change opacity for this layer. So open properties panel and change opacity to 15. Or maybe I can reduce it even more, for example to 10. Okay, I think it's better now. Okay, now I want to add a small highlight to this door shape as well. So let's use rectangle tool, change fill color to white and drag to create a small rectangle shape here. And maybe it's not a bad idea to add another smaller rectangle shape just below this one. Okay? Always remember to add some small details. They will add more value to your final project and also they will help you to create more interesting designs. Okay? Now let's group these shapes together, and I think 50% is a good value for opacity property. Again, select this group and duplicate it using Ctrl+C and then Ctrl+Shift+V keys. Now let's modify this new group. For example, let's move this left point to create better highlight effect. Great. Okay. Now let's see the result. Okay, I think I can change opacity for this new group to 35%, and let's change opacity for bigger group to 25%. Okay, I love it now. Great. Okay, now I want to have a highlight on top part of the body shape, so I can add a dark layer to the bottom part. So select the body layer and duplicate it. Okay, select eyedropper tool and choose, for example, this gray color. Now in layer panel, let's drag this new duplicated layer here on the top of the body layer. Okay, now let's use a gray tool here. It's direct selection tool. The shortcut is A key. Activate it and click on the dark body layer. Now select this top left point, hold shift key and then select this top right point as well. Okay, hold shift key and use down arrow key and move these points to the bottom. Just like so, okay. Okay. Now using direct selection tool, move this point a little bit towards the right and then select this handle, hold shift key and drag it to the left to create a curved shape for this edge. Okay, follow the same process for the right point, select it using direct selection tool and then hold shift key and move this handle to the right to create a curved shape for this edge as well. Okay, great. Okay, now let's add a little bit more details to this shadow. So select door shadow layer, then hold shift key and select this dark body layer. Activate shape builder tool and click on the bottom part of this door shadow layer to detach it. Okay, great. Deselect this layer. Now select this bottom part and let's change fill color to a darker color. For example, something like this color. Okay, great. Maybe I can change the opacity for this layer as well. For example, let's change opacity to 75%. Okay, nice effect. And I think it's a great idea to add a shadow under this object. So use rectangle tool and create a rectangle shape down here. Use direct selection tool and move this top left point to the right by holding shift key and pressing right arrow key for 10 times. Okay, great. Now select and move this top right point to the left for 10 times, just like so. Great. And now you can move edges using direct selection tool if you need it. And finally, let's move this circle handle a little bit towards the center to create round corners for the shadow shape as well, okay? Great. Now press I key and pick a dark blue color from the color palette. And now in layer panel, rename it to shadow and drag this shadow layer under all object layers. Okay, great. Now let's change the opacity for this shadow layer to something like 50%. Okay. Let's move some of these edges to have a better shadow shape. Okay, nice. And finally, we can add a little bit blur effect to this layer. So from menu, choose Effect, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and let's apply a blur effect with 8 pixels. Okay, great. Our microwave object is completed. I hope you enjoyed creating this object. As a designer, I highly recommend you to rename all the layers to understandable names. So let's change this main layer name to microwave. And now you can rename all these layers to have a clean layer structure for this Illustrator project file. It will be really helpful when you want to import this object in Adobe After Effects to create motion graphics from your Illustrator designs. So select each layer, find it in Artboard, and try to give it an understandable and relevant name to the object. And as a final step, we need to save this file. So from menu, choose File, Save, give it a name, for example, microwave. And here you can choose version for your Adobe Illustrator file. And finally hit OK button. That's it.
Okay, you have successfully designed an awesome microwave object, and I'm sure you have learned lots of great tips and tricks in Adobe Illustrator, but there are lots of techniques you need to know in Adobe Illustrator. Now, what is the next step? If you like to learn more advanced techniques in Adobe Illustrator, and if you like to create awesome motion graphics from your Illustrator designs, I highly recommend you to visit our portfolio on Udemy and Skillshare to find the best and highest rated motion graphics courses on those platforms. If you have any questions regarding this video tutorial, please do not hesitate to contact me and I'll be really happy to answer all of your questions. Thanks again for being with me until the end of this video tutorial, and I hope to see you in other video tutorials from Video Course Center. See you soon, have a nice day, and bye!